The open ocean functions as a highly regulated society, where survival is dictated by the rigid, collective dynamics of the pod. A pod provides the necessary architecture for marine life. It offers inherited hunting patterns, a shared defensive line against predators, and a social structure that supports the individual through injury or youth. Occasionally, a biological anomaly enters the system, the Wholphin calf. Born to a bottlenose dolphin mother and a false killer whale father, it is a hybrid that doesn't match the specifications of either parent species. This calf is larger and heavier than a standard bottlenose, and its uncoordinated tail makes it difficult for the juvenile to stay within the tight, high-speed formations of the group. In an ecosystem that relies on specialized conformity, the Wholphin is born without a social safety net, existing outside the evolutionary blueprints of the pod. The bottlenose juveniles recognize the difference immediately. They use their weight to ram the Wholphin's side, physically pushing the calf toward the outer edges of the group. While the mother tries to stay close, she cannot hold the entire group back. Eventually, the collective pace of the pod increases, leaving the hybrid behind in the open water. Integration with its other half is equally impossible. When a pod of false killer whales passes through, they maintain their formation and speed, refusing to adjust for a juvenile that cannot keep pace. By the age of 2, the Wholphin is isolated from both parent species, left to navigate the Pacific entirely on its own. Deprived of inherited knowledge, this animal is forced to find food and defend itself through trial and error. At age 3, a tiger shark enters the Wholphin's feeding ground. For a solitary animal, this is a moment of extreme vulnerability. A pod would normally handle this threat by rotating attackers, passing the shark between them to exhaust the predator and share the physical cost. This schematic shows the solitary alternative. The Wholphin strikes the shark's flank and immediately angles away, circling back in a repetitive loop to avoid its turning radius. By repeatedly striking the same spot, the Wholphin forces the predator to retreat. The Wholphin achieves through precise, repeated movement what a pod achieves with numbers. It is an effective solution, but requires a level of exertion that a solitary animal cannot sustain indefinitely. Access to the surface is often blocked by bottlenose pods. Coordinated groups of males will use their bodies to box the Wholphin out, preventing it from feeding on the schools of fish they have rounded up. At age 9, the Wholphin begins diving deeper, moving past the layers used by bottlenose pods to target large squid and deep-running mahi-mahi. Hunting at these depths is physically punishing. The descent takes its toll on the lungs and heart. The return trip requires immense effort to fight gravity and pressure. To manage this energy cost, the ascent vector transforms into a wide spiral, allowing the Wholphin to climb with a steady, rhythmic stroke, rather than a taxing vertical burst. This deep water hunt allows the Wholphin to feed away from the interference of surface groups, but the environmental pressure of the deep adds a significant risk to every meal. At age 14, a pod of 7 false killer whales takes over a prime feeding area. They work as a unit, pushing fish toward the surface to create a massive bait ball. The pod forms a horizontal wall at the surface, effectively sealing off the fish. Any attempt by the Wholphin to join the hunt from the side is met with a physical blockade by the pod members. Instead of challenging the pod's formation directly, the Wholphin drops into the water column beneath the fish, staying out of the pod's line of sight. It strikes from directly below, slicing through the center of the school before the pod at the surface can react or tighten their formation. By utilizing the vertical depth of the water column, a solitary animal can bypass a group's horizontal blockade and secure food without a direct confrontation. By age 18, the Wholphin is a solitary survivor, having spent a lifetime refining its hunting and defense patterns across the open Pacific. While moving between feeding grounds, it is intercepted by a pod of short-finned pilot whales. They close the distance from multiple directions simultaneously. This diagram shows the pod's interception strategy. They neutralize the Wholphin's speed by blocking the front and sides, while additional whales dive to cut off the escape route below. The Wholphin's defense relies on having room to maneuver against a single target. Here, simultaneous strikes from different angles destroy its propulsion and knock it into a roll it cannot recover from. This is the mathematical limit of the individual. No amount of agility can compensate for the coordinated, simultaneous pressure of a pod. Its body finally goes still, sinking slowly into the deep water that it had used to survive for nearly 2 decades. For 18 years, this animal navigated an ocean that had no social or biological space for it. It survived through a constant series of improvised adaptations, hunting and fighting without the support of a group. Nature occasionally produces these solitary anomalies, but the inescapable rule of the ocean is that long-term survival belongs to the system, not the individual.